Well, somebody asked the other day if I'd ever used vinegar to clean up steel, get the rust off. And it was odd because I had just put these in vinegar at that time. And it does a good job, though I soaked them in vinegar for 24 hours and then I cleaned them up some. And then I put them back in the vinegar. The one thing that I do like, it'll really show you where the hardening line is. That stands out very plainly. It's like right here. But it does that too if I glass bead. It shows me, and then I can tell even from where the sparks change color. But now, I soaked them in vinegar again, and now I'm actually going to let them rust, which maybe seems a bit odd, but I want to try something on these. Okay, these are 120 conifers that I use for mink. These are new ones, and when you get new ones, well, they were new like a year ago, and they've been hanging in a tree all that time. Because what you do with them, you let them get a layer of rust on them. Gets rid of all the oils and stuff, because that can be a problem on traps. You have to get rid of that leftover, the residual leftover from the manufacturing. And now once they're rusted like this, then I use, there's a trap dye. It's made out of wood, some kind of wood crystals. You can get it either the crystals or this is the liquid concentrate. And what that does, you put it in, mix it in water, and then boil them, and that dyes the rust. It's almost like zinc is really a form of rust, but it'll make them a dark brown, kind of a black, and that prevents them from rusting further, and then they don't have that unnatural smell to them. You have to do the same thing, like with conifers, you just dye them, because with regular traps, regular foothold traps, you also wax them. And that's done by simply you have melted wax on top of the kettle, and then when you pull the traps out, they go through that wax, and it leaves a layer of wax on them. But you don't do that with conifers because it'd be dangerously touchy. The way they work with their trigger mechanism, you can't wax them. But it makes the metal, like I said, dark brown, almost a black, depending on how long you leave them in, or you can repeat the process. And that protects it from rusting further. So, I want to try that with these two axe heads. Use that logwood dye. And in order to do that, I need to get a little rust on them. So, like I say, I'm going to leave these out. And just the moisture in the air, they'll get enough rust on them that it should hold. But that's my plan. Just an experiment to see how that would work. Now I tried this head on, this handle. And it's a good fit this way, but I'm coming all the way back to that shoulder, and now you can't just butt up against the shoulder. So I actually have to, knock this down to bring it back further to get better contact in here. But like I said, a lot of times people don't understand that axes are actually, the eye is hourglass shaped. It's done by when they have like a tongue shaped sort of wedge that's pounded in from both ways when they manufacture it. So you get that slight hourglass shape. And then when the head goes on, you want as much contact as you can. This whole area has got to be snug. Like I said, I got all the way back to here. But then, because of that shape, what happens up here, you know, in order for the head to fit, you know, the handle to go through the head, you end up that this end is smaller than the hole. Well, that's where your wedge comes into play. Your wooden wedge will spread this completely out. But you always have to make sure that the wedge is long. A lot of times I'll cut the wedge so it's narrower at the bottom than it is at the top, and even let it splinter as it goes in, you know, the top part. Because you got to fill that space. You know, this will simply fill the sides, the wedge fills end to end, then you put your steel wedge in to really tighten that up. But like I say, I got to do more back here, get rid of some of that shoulder, because it does not work. If you just put them up against the shoulder, it won't hang on there for long. It'll work loose as the shoulder will just break down. So I got to bring it back about 1/4 of an inch. You know, I don't want to do any more modifying to this than I have to. And like somebody had mentioned about pine tar, well, I actually won't put pine tar on this handle. This one I'll simply oil, because I don't want the pine tar to affect the test that I want to see if it splits on this line. You know, that's the whole idea of this. And pine tar tends to make wood more resilient, so I don't want that to affect. So this will just be linseed oil on this one. Be the first one I've done that on for a long time. But I think it'll be a good fit once I get it off of the shoulder. But that's the thing, you know, that handle should fit in this part like a cork in a bottle. You know, it can't bottom out back here. It's got to be snug, you know, just a squeaky fit right in there. But this has a fairly good sized eye on it, you know, which is why I brought it back that far. But it's a pretty good fit. It's just that it's shouldering out now, and I can't have it do that, so I've got to bring it back some. But it's good that it fits tight this way. You know, because that's where a lot of times you run into problems, that you know, you have to get a good fit there, and then keep moving it back until you get a good fit here. But that looks like that'll work fine. But that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to dye these with that trap dye and see how that works. You know, this other one, I haven't decided what handle to use on this yet. But this one, you know, I could never find a maker's mark on it. That doesn't mean a lot, because, you know, not all axes are marked. There's a lot of them that don't have markings on them. But that's a lot of hardening on the blade. They went quite a ways up on that. And by the shape of it, I actually think it's a pretty good axe. You know, so we'll see. But yeah, that vinegar, it does the job. It really cleans it off. So, you know, considering that stuff's about $1 a gallon, you know, you could fill a 5-gallon pail full of vinegar. You know, for $5, you could do a lot of axes with that. Or other odd-shaped things. So I got some stuff soaking in. After I took the max heads out. One of the things is this contraption, which I'm sure people haven't seen before. I had bought this years ago, and I actually carried on the trap line, because it's one of these multi-function tools that really doesn't do anything well, but it'll get you by in a lot of circumstances. They were actually sold by the company that makes the high lift jacks, but I haven't seen them for sale for a long time. But you know, it's got all these different functions, but like I say, none of them really work very well. But it worked in that I used it for driving steel trap stakes in frozen ground. It worked for that. And that it had the pliers end. It worked good, because to get them out again, you'd have to turn them a little bit. Well, yeah, that worked good. they're good enough. But I noticed I had two of these, and one of them broke. I can't remember which handle it was. One of the handles broke, and here it turned out they're cast, and there was an air pocket in the casting. So I think they had a lot of problems with them, which is I think why they quit making them. But they're kind of handy, you know. But they got the nail puller, they got a wire cutter in here, they got a wire grabber here for like stretching fencing wire, and they don't weigh a lot. You know, they got a bottle opener, which is about useless, and a really poor screwdriver, but it works as a pry bar. You know, it's really a half-assed sort of tool, but it'll get you out of a jam sometimes. You know, it's just kind of an awkward little thing. But like I said, I don't think there's many of these in existence anymore, because I think the High Lift only made these for a short period of time, and then they said, well, you know, I'm sure they had problems with the casting. But this one I've had a long time, it hasn't broke, so this must not have an air pocket in it. But I know that other one you could see right away when it broke. There was a big bubble in there. So I think they changed their mind and just concentrated on doing jacks. But, you know, it's kind of a handy backup tool. You know, it's a poor hammer, it's a poor hatchet. It's not really good at anything, but it's kind of half-assed at a lot of stuff. And I think it was painted red like the High Lift jacks at one time. But I'm soaking this in vinegar now, trying to clean it up. But I think I'm going to have to take a wire brush to this, because the vinegar doesn't seem to be touching this rust. But it could be whatever particular metal this is made out of. But, you know, like I say, odd little tool, but it can be handy. You know, there's writing on here too, but I can't. I just know I bought it from the same company that makes the High Lift jacks. But I will be working on this sometime today. I don't know how much of a show I'm going to be doing it, you know, getting this handle fit as I'm canning tomatoes. Yesterday I made a bunch of pickles again, so I got more vinegar, but I think I've got maybe 10 quarts of tomatoes to do today, and there'll still be another run on tomatoes. But you know, it's this canning, I've been doing something every day with it, but it'll be good to have. But whenever I get around to dyeing those traps, I'm going to dye these, but I'm going to fit them first. And then we'll just see how that holds up, how that black will hold up on the head. But like I say, I want to let them get a little rust on them first, because I know that's what the dye clings to, is the rust. I don't know on a bare steel. Well, maybe a really clean bare it would hold on, but it usually seems to take rust.